Welcome to Introduction to Programming C. My name is Tunai. The following are our objectives. We'll be able to learn on the definition of terms used in C programming, then features and evolution of programming languages. Definition of terms. We are going to define what is a programming language. A programming language is a standardized communication technique for expressing instruction to a computer. You may also define it as a set of syntactic and semantic rules used to define computer programs. A programming language basically enables a programmer to precisely specify what data a computer will act upon, how this data will be stored or transmitted, and precisely what action to take under various circumstances. I want to think of a programming language like the normal languages you use. Like at this juncture, I'm using English. You're able to listen to me. You're able to understand me. Or assuming you speak Swahili or Luo, then you give directives to another person. Basically, that person should be able to understand you, should also know that language. So by the time you give them directives, they'll do according to what you have directed them to do. Likewise with programming language, they normally give directives to the computer, like store, transmission, and more so. As compared to other languages, programming language has a special role. It normally enables us to come up with other programs, or it has instructions that enable us to write programs. Examples of this programming language include Visual Basic, C, C++, Java, Pascal, and etc. And now, what is programming? Programming is creating a sequence of instruction to enable the computer to do something. Remember, we have said that a programming language basically enables you to come up with other programs. When you are coming up with those programs, you are kind of writing instructions through which the computer will use to behave in a particular manner. So, if programming language help you come up with those instructions, then the process of you coming up with those instructions, you're actually programming. That's why you say programming is creating a sequence of instruction to enable the computer to do something. Features of a programming language. Remember, just like any language we know, list them: English, Swahili, French, and more others. You can easily differentiate one language from the other because of how it is represented. And the way it is represented, we can equate it to be like features. Likewise with programming language, you normally have features through which when you are using one language, you can easily differentiate it from another one. And these are the features. One, we have a vocabulary. Two, we have what we call syntax. Then lastly, and not least, we have semantics, or we say meaning. Let us explain features of programming language one by one. We are going to start with vocabulary. Vocabulary refer to the words that are allowed in the language. They include keywords, operators, and legal variable names. Likewise, with the languages you all know, English has words through which when you combine them together, they form a sentence. By the time they form a sentence, you are able to understand. If you come to Kiswahili, Kiswahili has what we call the msamiati. Put the msamiatis all together, you come to understand at the end of it. When you take English and Kiswahili, then English has their own words. Kiswahili has also its own words. Yes, a word in Kiswahili, a word in English, they mean the same, but they are different. So likewise with programming language, two programming languages may have different wordings. For example, C programming language, we have words like printf, we have words like int, and also when you come to a language like C++, we have words like cout, cin, etc. Let us embark on syntax. Syntax refers to the rules used to form legal statements in the language. Every statement in the program must adhere to these rules. If you understand English very well, remember, first you need to understand the wordings, the words, not the words, right? So when you put all those words together, you're going to come up with a sentence. Then you are told that then that sentence should be grammatically correct. How? As if you're writing down, you are going to start the first word with a capital letter, the first letter of the word actually, then you end with a full stop. So it is grammatically correct. So those are the rules you follow in English. Likewise with programming languages, you have a language like C. It has got its own rule, how to start and how to end. Starting a statement, you end with a semicolon. Words, we have those ones which you start in uppercase, then others will start with lowercase, and you can interchange them. So that is the syntax. Rules used in C programming, which we call them syntax. Then lastly we have semantics. Semantics refers to the meaning of statement in programming written using a given language. Remember, the words or the keywords in given programming language has its own meaning. Like, for example, if it's English, it has its own word. A word like come, you know the meaning. A word like go, so in Kiswahili, njoo, it has meaning. Likewise with programming language, if you use some words, then they have got special meaning. You will not just take even words, mix them together and expect they behave in a given one. No. So for example, int is used before a given word in C programming. So when you use that, it's basically an integer type. Evolution of programming languages. If you have ever learned history or religion, then realize that everything evolves from somewhere. If we go historical way, realize that as humans, we are believed to have evolved from somewhere, and now we are somewhere. So, like we are believed to have evolved from apes. Then from apes, that is the Homo habilis, the Homo erectus, Homo sapiens sapiens. That's where we are. Likewise with programming languages, we believe they have evolved from somewhere, and we now appreciate where they have reached. So we start with the first generation of codes, which was called machine language. That's why it started. So with machine language, the computer literally understands only a sequence of ones and zeros, and it's actually the computer which does the interpretation electrically. So in the first generation, which basically was called machine language, it was a generation where programming was a very cumbersome or difficult thing to do, because you can imagine writing a code in ones and zeros, and a given word have many ones and zeros, even just a full stop. So if you forget even a full stop, that means that actually decoding that code is a whole problem. The second generation of programming language is assembly language. The assembly language turns the sequence of ones and zeros into simple human words like add, delete, and more so. So, as compared to the machine language, assembly language somehow was a little close to human and a little simpler, because human, you are not, or you don't only code it in ones and zeros, but what you do is you use some simpler terms which are like English, add, delete, which are simple to understand. But now, remember, a computer does not understand any other thing apart from zeros and ones. So those programs which were written in assembly language, or which is written in assembly language, then is supposed to be translated back to the machine language so that the machine can understand. What I mean is, those words like add, delete, and more, then they're supposed to be translated to ones and zeros so that the computer can be able to understand. So there came a program called assembler, so which its own work was to translate the words written in assembly language to ones and zeros so that the computer can be able to understand. That means that translation actually came in the second generation of computers, which is the assembly language. The third generation of programming language is the high-level language, or abbreviated as HLL. So the high-level language is much close to the human because it uses simple English standard words. In order for the computer to understand the high-level language, just like the assembly language, then the high-level language is translated to the low-level language. The low-level language is actually the machine language, which is a ones and zeros. Remember, when we talk of high-level language, a language like C, it has sometimes like printf. It has a language like C++. It has sometimes like C out and more so. So you can easily understand them because they are close to simple standard English. So the computer does not understand them. So what it happens is they are translated to ones and zeros. So just like we said earlier, translation started in the assembly language. So and it continued to the high-level language. So in the high-level language, the translation is done with a program which is called a translator. So example of high-level languages include Visual Basic, C, Java, C++, and list all of them. The end.